Hello and welcome to Choose Beautiful. This is our special initiative in partnership with Dove, where we are highlighting the importance of women to choose beautiful, to see themselves as beautiful human beings. Now, we'll be sharing the findings of surveys done by India Today Women in partnership with Dove. The objective was to find out how comfortable women feel about describing themselves as beautiful.
It was my choice. And now I will question myself for the next few weeks, maybe months.
Am I choosing because of what's constantly bombarded at me, what I'm being told that I should accept? Or am I choosing because that's what I really believe?
I walked into that door which said average, and I didn't feel really good after that. Because obviously I had rated myself average and nobody else.
Let's introduce our beautiful panel this evening. Of course, we have Soha Ali Khan. She needs no introduction. Bollywood star who's also dabbled in Bengali and English films. She also, of course, belongs to a family of cricketers and beautiful movie stars. We have Ira Trivedi here. She's a novelist with several published works under your belt. You, of course, also your Wikipedia page describes you as a yoga teacher and an entrepreneur. I'm going to ask you about that as well. Now, there's Anisha Singh, founder and CEO of mydala.com, which is an e-commerce group buying company. All right, you were conferred with the Women Leadership Award at the World Women Leadership Congress recently in 2014. It's a huge achievement there under your belt. We also got Dr. Varkha Chilani, clinical psychologist who works closely with Dove. And you're an expert in the psychology of peak performances in areas of personal and professional life. So I'm going to first start with that video that we played out for Dove. Those two adjacent doors saying beautiful and average. So I'll start with you. Which door would you walk through?
I'm a very practical person, so I said I would walk through the door that is closest to me, firstly. And then if I had to really choose whether I walk through an average title door or a beautiful title door, it would depend on how I felt on the day, I would say honestly. And if I wasn't in a good place, I would probably walk through the average door. But if I was having a good day, and if I felt that I looked good, I would perhaps walk through the beautiful door. But
I'm surprised that you're not more confident, considering you're a movie star. People look up to you, want to be like you see on the big screen.
It's all relative, firstly. And yes, I do come, I've chosen a career. It's my third career, and I actually didn't choose it for a long time because I thought it was very much about how you look. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to be in a career like that, especially for women, especially in India. And then I come from a family which, as you rightly said in your introduction, is made up of a majority of very beautiful people, I think. So I consider myself quite average in that family and in my chosen profession.
Ira, which door would you walk through?
It boggles my mind why someone would, of their own choice, walk through the average door. It really does.
Oh,
you know, I couldn't when I watched the video, I really sort of thought to myself, is that so many of these women are choosing to be just average. For me,
so they're all beautiful women, most of them that pass through the average door.
And the thing is that when I saw that door, for me, it was almost like, even if I'm not beautiful, this is the doorway into being beautiful. That's what I felt when I saw that door. So why would I choose a doorway which would lead me into being average?
I think that's the entire idea behind this program, choosing beautiful, realizing that you're beautiful. Anisha, which door would you choose?
You know, I'm with Ira on this one. I actually thought there'd be more women out there. So it's very scary that women actually just chose to walk through the average door. I mean, I'd walk through the beautiful door, and I would think, being women in general, we try and lock the door behind us, you know, that's it. No more women coming through or whatever, I don't know. But I really didn't think that so many women would just walk through the average door and have such low self-esteem. So, hey, beautiful. Yeah, I'd just walk through that. Bad day, not bad day, beautiful it is.
Yeah, it's true.
Dr. Chilani?
When I saw the video, I think I felt very sad. I felt very sad because the opening shot showed a woman from India, okay? I mean, I identified with her accent and her looks. And since I'm in the profession of mental health and I work with women all the time, it just made me very sad that the Indian woman, unfortunately, has a very poor self-concept. And it's been drilled into her head that, if she considers herself beautiful, that means she's kind of leaning towards arrogance and maybe a little bit of overconfidence. But yes, I would rather have walked through the beautiful door, definitely, because it's much easier in my profession to pull people down from arrogance to confidence, but much harder to pull people up from feeling inferior to feeling confident. So yeah, I mean, all you women out there, I think choose beautiful, and I think beautiful it is.
And what makes you beautiful? According to our survey, being loved and taking care of oneself are the top-rated reasons. What do you think, Suha?
I would say, really, often people compliment you for various reasons. And sometimes I brush off those compliments. I often don't take compliments well as well. And people say you should just accept it at times. And I've realized that when I really feel beautiful is when I feel beautiful, when it's not somebody telling me that I look beautiful on a particular day. And that could be because I've had 8 hours of sleep, or I've eaten something that makes me happy, or that I've done yoga, which I also enjoy doing, but I'm not very good at. I believe there's a broader definition of beauty, certainly, that is internal and has a lot to do with internal well-being, spiritual and mental and physical. But I also understand that there is a physical definition of beauty as well that we all, I think, have to accept exists, and certain standards, even though beauty is in the eye of the beholder, certainly, and that there's cultural differences as well between what is beautiful, and the concept of beauty has changed over time as well. I still think that there are certain universal norms about what and who is beautiful as opposed to someone who is not so beautiful, perhaps.
Does the feeling of somebody loving you make you feel more beautiful?
I think not only is beauty about feeling loved, but even feeling loved is about, it makes you feel beautiful. So it correlates both ways. I do feel that when people appreciate your beauty, even if it's a small passing comment, it can really uplift you in so many ways. So I feel having those positive factors, even when my dog comes up to me, with like a loving look in his eyes, it's such an overwhelming feeling. But I do think that, I have seen women who are not that beautiful appear to be really beautiful by people around them, especially by men. And they just say there's something so attractive about her. She's not classically beautiful. She doesn't have the fair skin that defines beauty, or she doesn't have that long flowing hair. But what is it about her? What is that X factor? I really feel like that X factor is because that woman is choosing to be beautiful. It's the confidence that she radiates. It's the way she walks. It's the way she'll be able to present herself because she feels it. And that is that mystique, that X factor that really can drive men crazy, and that does.
You've spoken like a writer. We know out of this group you're the one who's a writer who writes. Anisha, how would you like to respond?
So I'll put this in context of how I am and what's been with me. So all this while, I think I was more physically fit earlier. I've had 2 kids now, and essentially, I feel more beautiful now than I ever did in my life. I grew up complexed. I'll say it. I've got no issues saying it. I grew up complexed, always comparing myself. It was just a state of mind that refused to go away. And I've talked to a lot of women that feel the same way, and it could be different for different women. It either gets them this way or the other way. But once you have kids and you realize the power, you're so empowering about stuff, right? And I don't know, it changed me as a person. And I think I started loving myself more. It was more about, wow, this, it's okay. I'm okay. I think I'm at the stage in life where I love myself. I actually like the way and I think it's the confidence. So I actually do believe, and I saw that you had read out earlier that confidence, doesn't make people feel beautiful, which is surprising to me because a lot of confident women on my team, I have 400 people on my team, a lot of them women, and the confident ones stand out.
Confident women don't necessarily see themselves as beautiful,
which is fascinating. Because they stand out to me. They seem so much more beautiful. You don't, like she said, you don't have to be typically beautiful. You just are more attractively beautiful. It just grabs your attention, and that to me is beautiful.
You were talking about how you said that Indian women especially tend to be more critical about themselves. This is something that our survey also found, that 64% Indian feel that they are too critical. So Indian women realize that they're too critical, but they can't help themselves. They will still see themselves as normal looking as opposed to beautiful or pretty.
Because of the social conditioning. unfortunately, beauty has always been associated with no brain. And you can see on the panel here, you've got beauty and brain. So the connotation, the social connotations, the correlations that are made is that if someone's taking effort to style herself, look good, etc., that means, well, she's quite like a bimbette who possibly has nothing in the top story. So the connotations or the associations with beauty has been superficial, frivolous, bimbettish, and many more unfortunate things. There is also a connotation that if you are in a serious profession, you need to dress down so that people take you seriously. And as Soha said, I think the basic concept of the Indian woman is that she believes her beauty comes with self-sacrificism, with service of someone else. So first it's her father, her brother, her husband, her in-laws, and eventually then it becomes her children. It's never her. So if she doesn't invest enough, like I liked what Soha said in the beginning where she said, getting my 8 hours of sleep. How many of
10.
us? 10? Excellent. Yeah. Now, how many of us will not feel guilty taking time out to rest?
So you're raising very important points. That work culture stereotype that you raised, that's something that I want to ask all of you, because usually it's assumed that if a woman is very beautiful and she's working, she always dresses up and comes to work, she may be a little not too smart.
You see, there is a danger. If you're only attractive looking and if you are not smart, which also happens, you will be exploited by this industry and by many other industries. So, and some people allow themselves to be exploited as well. They know that it's happening to them, and some people don't know that it's happening to them. So being beautiful, as they say, I mean, it's a curse, and it is also difficult, I'm sure, to be very beautiful. And there are many examples of people who are also, when you attach too much importance to just the way that you look, there are many examples of people who suffer from low self-esteem. And it's been said that, you know, beauty is a passport to better opportunities in life, but it is certainly just a visa, and it will run out very quickly.
But so I will say this, and I speak a lot on women empowerment and women joining the workforce professionally as entrepreneurs. I think the reason why we also see this parity is, or this comes about often, is because there are fewer of us. Okay, the ones that stand out. And this also comes from, and I speak often on this, is for some reason, as a gender, we're not very collective. You'll see, because there's such few of us, we tend to see each other as competitor first. So if it's me and, you know, another person, the first thing, a guy will high five if you go to a startup competition and congratulate the other one. The women will tend not to do that. And so it just so happens because there are fewer of us there. And the beautiful ones definitely in the pecking order get, you know, bashed up first before it gets to anyone else. That being said, the stereotype is changing. The Sheryl Sandbergs and Marissa Mayers of the world are changing that completely. They make no apologies for what they wear. You know, they dress pretty stylishly. They don't care. And so you see that changing. You see that happening. So they're, from the average, they're actually kind of moving towards the other door and saying, it's all about me.
And Ira, I want to ask you, is there, especially in Indian culture, is choosing beautiful seen as arrogance? Because a lot of times when you saw that video from India, there was a huge queue of women just walking into the average door, no one stepping out. And
you know where this concept comes from is actually school days. You know, it's what we've been told all through our school days, like wear a long skirt, plait your hair, don't wear any of this stuff. You know, everyone must look the same. You know, because if you look any different, if you're doing something a little bit different than with your hair, you're told to go back and to change it immediately. You know, I remember even like, you know, your plait has to have a ribbon. Forget about everything else. And your socks have to be...
That's cool uniform.
But I just think that's where it all starts. You know, that's really where it starts, is that this is, I mean, for 12 years of your life, you know, you do this, this is the way that you're supposed to be. If you stand out, or if you think that you're any different than anyone else, especially in the way that you look, that's not a good thing. So that's where I developed, on a personal level, that thing just wanted to stand in the corner, not to look good, to sort of never be in a crowd and to stand out. It was many of that burden of my school days. stayed with me for a very long time. So I do think that's where it's inculcated, but that's changing now. Now when I see the younger school children, it's not like that anymore. They're not encouraged to be to be cookie cutter. Everyone be the same. If someone's skirt is 2-3 inches shorter than the other ones, or someone's socks are a bit different.
In fact, in school you'll see the children from the same class, students in the same class wearing their uniforms differently.
Exactly, and it's not now no longer say that reprimanded for doing that. So I do think, especially for girls, that emphasis that was placed that you must behave in a certain way, you must walk in a certain way, you must hold your head in a certain way, because if you do this, it's not going to look good.
I think also,
it's
if
a
I may
problem.
interrupt, the good girl is supposed to be a demure girl.
Yeah, it is. It's from the beginning.
Goodness as a
Very
concept.
beginning.
Supposed to be a virtue,
Humbleness, humility are virtues in our countries, exactly like richness. I mean, if I say I want to be rich, people are going to raise their eyebrows and wonder. Okay, so on the same connotation, you've got good girls are supposed to be demure, shy, okay, put their heads down, not look up, not make eye contact, and constantly, in one way, put themselves down. That, if it's going to be defined as goodness and that as a virtue, how many of us are going to want to feel beautiful?
Absolutely. So I really feel that these concepts of beauty being something which should always be sort of kept in case, which shouldn't be thrown out to the world, and always maybe look average and feel average, is something that is inculcated from when we're very, very little.
And maybe add to it the adjective purity. We're supposed to be pure. These are social connotations that are constantly reiterated over time.
Of course, because you go from being a maiden to a wife to a mother, and how that happens, of course, is not played upon. But you just remain virtuous and pure through it.
You're Sharmila Tagore's daughter. You're a mirror image of your mother.
I'm not
She's
actually.
Somebody
I've got a lot of my father in me.
But who's also a very good-looking man.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So you're obviously somebody who must have been admired quite a bit. Why do you constantly stress on seeing yourself as not particularly beautiful?
I have no problems with self-confidence. I am a confident person, and I do feel I'm a good catch. But I also feel that, I was looking at it purely in terms of definition of what is, aesthetically, objectively beautiful. And I think that there are lots of people who are, there's a pecking order. Everything is relative. So there are lots of people who are more beautiful than I am, and there are lots of people who are not as beautiful as I am. So I look at it that way, but when I look at the other things, and I think that women also have a broader definition of what is attractive. The men here should definitely contradict me if they feel that way, but I think you have a narrower definition of what you see in a woman, and you might perhaps want them to be beautiful, and your friends to find them beautiful is very important as well, I've realized. But for women, they want, they see attractiveness as a lot, of course, about humor, personality, intelligence, confidence, that aura, that certain je ne sais quoi, that X factor. And people who are, of course, well-styled, well-groomed, attractive, beautiful, do have that confidence and that aura more often than not. And the idea is to get that aura and that confidence. And
Alisha,
that's
something you could probably tell your daughter. Next time she turns around and asks you if she's
remember bringing her down a peg or two, not putting her up further two pegs up.
Okay, I also wanted to ask you, is there this feeling of guilt that women have if they spend too much time on themselves, if they've gone to a parlor, gone to a spa, spent some 3 hours there, especially a mother who probably thinks that she could have spent those 3 hours with her kids? Is that something that, do you think that guilt somewhere plays a role in spending time with oneself?
Most definitely. I think woman in India equals guilt, because selflessness again is propagated as a virtue. A lot of Indian women think that they're beautiful because they are desirable. But desirable from an external person, how about being desirable for oneself? So no one teaches us that first you are a person, then you are a daughter of, a wife of, and a mother of, okay? And I think if there is an intrinsic belief, a mindset alteration, a reconstruction of value that I deserve better for myself, then there's no question of guilt when I go out and take time investing, whether it's in my yoga class, whether it's, in the parlor, or just taking time out for myself.
So you think this is more of an Indian concept?
I think so,
Guilt,
yes. More
modesty,
unfortunately
self-sacrifice.
tilting here. I'm sure globally also, as you would have seen.
I disagree. I think the guilt factor is a world over women phenomenon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, women in general, we are queens of guilt. That's it. We love it. We'll lob it on ourselves, married, not married, with kids, without kids. We love that. We thrive on that stuff. It's the truth. I mean, we love that. We'd be guilty about our parents, not spending time with our parents if it wasn't the kids, or, not doing a good job at work. Now it's the kids, and it's always, we just thrive on that stuff. So I think it's just us getting rid of that somehow, or just at least trying to tuck it away in a little box for a little bit,
Ira, would you want to say something?
I think I agree with, both of you. I do think that guilt, women feeling guilty, is an intrinsic quality of women globally and world over. I do think it is also a specifically Indian women problem, more so than in other countries, because I think that's just the way that we've been raised, especially girls. This is your duty towards it's your duty towards your parents, your duty towards your husband, your duty towards your children. And in today's day and age, it's often the duty towards your work. So it's the same sense of duty that you have. So that concept of doing what's your duty, and especially for girls, I think especially girls are raised in that particular way. So I think that's where the guilt is derived from. And I think going to the parlor or going to the gym is not looked upon as something which is important. Not so important.
But in the film industry, there is an increased emphasis on looking good, especially for women actors. So they are asked, they're expected to go and work out, they're expected to be fit, they're expected to look perfect at all times.
Yes.
So that idea doesn't really work with the film industry.
Well, of course. I mean, it's a glamour industry, so it's very important, especially for women. Not so much for men, you will notice.
Yes.
Although that's changing now. I think men are now also pulling up their socks, and like all this 6-pack, 8-pack phenomenon, which is also going a little perhaps extreme. But it is certainly very, very looks-based. And yes, I mean, I suppose because this is my career. When I go to the gym or when I do yoga, it's part of my job requirement. But also,
how many of these gorgeous-looking women actually feel good about themselves?
But there's no correlation between looking good and feeling good at all. Yeah. And you've had some very beautiful, actresses talk about that very openly in the press recently, and talk about struggling with depression and self-esteem and issues like that. So I think if you don't have a core that comes from something else, then you can be very easily shaken, because
From self-worth, probably.
Yes, and you do, for example, if you want your self-esteem shaken, you do a hair commercial.